It's time for Wretched Radio with Todd Friel.
Prepare to hear something you would have never imagined. This is Wretched Radio. If I said to you, Paul Washer was watching Joel Osteen on TV and actually learned something, would you believe me? Probably not.
Would need way more detail.
And you're going to get them right now. Paul Washer, who we're hoping is on the mend, talking about somebody you would usually not even talk or think about in the same sentence, Joel Osteen.
I was at a place that had cable last year, 2 years ago, and turned on the TV, and there was Joel Osteen. And I listened to his sermon, and I was very convicted.
Huh? I told you would never expect to hear that. Now, here are the details that Tony was requesting, and that I think, frankly, the church is now demanding.
Thank you.
Just let that sink in for a moment. I do believe that the things he was saying were out of context and wrong. Because when he talked about all the great things that God had in store for the people, they were more material. You know, houses, success, jobs, and all this. Where I was greatly rebuked was this. He was greatly encouraging with all his heart. He really was. He was encouraging people in the things of God, all that God had for them. But he was wrong about what was important. Totally wrong.
Right. There is a reason that Joel Osteen is as popular as he is. This doesn't go back as far as Paul Washer. I'm confusing Paul Washer and Joel Osteen. As Paul Washer's recollection of Joel Osteen's goes, but somewhat recently, I was at a gas station on a Sunday morning, and a young lady had Joel Osteen on. I said, "Why do you watch him? He just makes me feel good every time I watch him." Now, everything, and I think this is defensible, everything Joel Osteen teaches is probably wrong or close to it. Nevertheless, he does make people feel good. Now, we know it's a house of cards. He's building a foundation on sinking sand. But could we not learn something from Joel Osteen? Could we not recognize that there is something about our preaching, our teaching, and even our demeanor that could be positive for people, hopeful, something that's even, joyful?
But I asked myself, how encouraging am I? How it is such a blessing to me when someone comes up to me and encourages me. I mean, says, "Man, you're doing well. Man, that was great. You're progressing." How it just jump starts me. And I have found out it jump starts everyone else. To be encouraged, to encourage people by pointing out, are you ready for this? The good in them.
Oh boy. Got a couple of questions for you. You're not going to like this first one. Are you like Joel Osteen? You're probably going, no, just in this regard. Are you encouraging? Is your demeanor positive? Or is it negative? I think let's use Joel Osteen for something beneficial. Let us ask ourselves, what am I known for? Look, everybody knows Joel is the smiling preacher. He's pastor encouragement. And when I use the word pastor, I'm using it very loosely right now. Nevertheless, he's known for those things. Should we not also be known for those things? Rightly so. Second, do your children see you as an encourager? Do they see you as one who wants to encourage them to do better, to be more obedient to God, to love the Lord more? Or do they just see you as kind of a nag or a crabby pants person? That's right, a crabby pants person. That's I think that might have been in the DSM too, but they've taken it out since then. Number 3,
Of course.
at work, are you an encourager? And by the way, Tony and Joey, I do believe that you are doing a bang-up job. There is nobody finer in the business than you. Back to our regularly scheduled diatribe, because just trying to...
Oh, that felt perfunctory. But thank you anyways. I believe that your heart was behind it.
Well, I might get better at it with practice. I have to confess, it is not my bent. I suspect it isn't many people's bent. In fact, frankly, I don't even think it's Joel Osteen's bent. It's his shtick. I would be willing to bet some money, if I weren't a Christian, you get alone with Joel Osteen and you push some buttons. You see Captain Krabby Pants. The DSM-2 will be back in action. Let me tell you something. It's just not our human bent. You pick the ratio that you like. But I think that we could all strive for something like this. For every critique, 10 positives. Try that ratio in your home, because chances are, like me, you've got it backwards. A Paul Washer learning from Joel Osteen.
Yeah, that's biblical. God has worked good in his people. Paul was convinced of the goodness of the people he was writing to. God's done something wonderful in you. I can see good things in you.
Even to the Corinthian congregation, believe it or not. Paul always began with a bit of encouragement. Okay, I confess when it came to the Galatians, not quite as much encouragement there. Nevertheless, there was something of an encouragement. Who did I just read? I know who. I'm not going to tell you the source of this, because sometimes you can read a nugget of good stuff from a bad teacher, and if you quote the bad teacher, even though it's a good nugget, people will think you're endorsing the bad teacher. Sort of like Paul Washer. He's not endorsing Joel Osteen by any means. I just read a fellow who said that the current movement regarding sexual issues and how we aren't supposed to pay any attention to what somebody's gender is, they're all man-made constructs. You are what you think you are. He said it's a form of Gnosticism. Like they've now learned something higher. They've tapped into a knowledge that knuckleheads heretofore have never figured out. Sure, it looks like a boy. Sure, it has girl parts, but we know better. There is no such thing. It's Gnosticism at its core. Even when Paul was writing to a congregation that was being tempted by Gnosticism, for instance, Colossians, always something positive. Did Paul ever rebuke? Of course he did. But we are also supposed to be exhorting. May I ask you, how much of an encouragement are you compared to Joel Osteen?
Look at the church in Corinth. They're having trouble with comprehending the resurrection. Some of them are denying physical resurrection. Every sort of other thing going on. But how does Paul start that letter in 1 Corinthians? Talking about all the good that he saw in them. All that the Lord had done in him. I just don't think, by and large, as the people of God, at least for myself, I don't do that enough. Wow. Brother, sister, that was amazing. I'm so proud of God's grace in you. So happy. Keep going. Press on.
Is that you? Is that I? How might you get better at this? Might I suggest you do with what you just heard what we're supposed to be doing with any sermon that convicts to a degree? Anytime we read the Bible, dwell on it. Meditate on it. How do we learn to apply these things? How can I get better at encouragement? I think it's by constantly reflecting and remembering, meditating, churning this over. and then applying it. It's easy to do, really. It is easy to do. Your kids do some stuff right, don't they? Your spouse isn't a total disaster. Look around at church. Do you see anybody who, okay, maybe it's ragtag, who knows what, but how's about that dad who gets out of the minivan and they look a little frazzled? How's about, you know what, Dad? I've been watching you come to this church every week. Your faithfulness is amazing. Way to go, Pop. It's not hard. We just got to be looking for it. But first, we need to be persuaded that it is the right thing to do, to be an encourager. So let me ask you a question. Was Jesus an encourager? Is God an encourager? Is he not for you? So if we want to be like him, let us be an encourager to others. So what I'm trying to say is let us all be like Joel Osteen. Wow, that hurt. This